So you're up here, you're happy. This is the happy level that I just made up. So you're up here, you're happy, you're going along, you feel good with each other. Then all of a sudden, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about what I've learned from being in a long distance relationship. So I've been in a long distance relationship now since September, so October, November, December, January. So about 4 months now I've been in a long distance relationship, and it's gonna go all the way until 8 months until I'll be able to see him. So I won't see him until May, which is super long, but I've already learned so much already just not being together for 4 months. So if you're in a long distance relationship and you're struggling, or you're just about to start one and you're really worried about what you can expect, I'll be going through the 5 things that I've learned and that you should probably expect in a long distance relationship that I really had no clue about and really didn't understand until I was actually in one. So the first thing that I learned about being in a long distance relationship is that there is no such thing as normal. Just before we started our long distance relationship, I was so worried and didn't know what to expect. I was searching up everything about long distance relationships. I was trying to read and know as much as I could so that I could be fully prepared and not make any mistakes and know what to expect, and just tried so hard to make sure that our long distance relationship was going to be normal. But I've learned that there's no such thing as normal just because you search up how many times should we text a day, or how many times should we FaceTime a week, whatever it might be, trying to figure out what the normal is. There's no normal. It really depends on your own relationship. So what might work for one relationship might not work for yours, and vice versa. So you really just kind of have to figure out what works for both of you, what you're comfortable with, what your girlfriend or boyfriend is comfortable with, and what really makes you both feel like your needs are being met. So figure out your own normal. Don't try and push yourself to fit into a box of what you think is normal, and it will honestly make long distance feel so much better because you're both not pressuring yourselves into being something that you're not. Another thing that I learned about long distance relationships is that love languages are so important. Now, if you don't know what the love languages are, there's words of affirmation, physical touch, quality time, acts of service, and then I think the last one is gifts, or something about receiving gifts. I forget what it's exactly called, but it's along those lines. But basically, we didn't really put a huge focus on figuring out each other's love languages when we were together, because I find that when you're together in person, it's a lot easier to not have to do that because you're kind of already fulfilling all 5 by being in person. And it's a lot easier to figure out what the other person needs when you see them face to face. But when there's a huge distance apart from you and time zone differences and all these different things that are going on when you're in a long distance relationship, love languages, I would say, is probably the most important thing to pay attention to in a long distance relationship. So the reason for that is because what you need might be different from what your boyfriend or girlfriend may need. I know for me, my 2 love languages are physical touch and words of affirmation. Obviously, I cannot get physical touch because we're not together, so that's sacrificing a big way that I feel loved and cared for. So words of affirmation have to become amplified more than they would be if we were together, because I would have that physical touch component. So that was something that we kind of had to learn. I had to learn for myself because I didn't realize why I was feeling more disconnected than usual at the start, and it was because of that, because I really needed to amplify that in order to feel loved and cared for. So really try to figure out and understand what your love languages are and try to amplify them as much as the other person needs, since so much distance is in between you guys now and extra effort needs to be put into them since you're far apart. The next thing I learned about long distance relationships is that you should never have an argument over text. So yes, you still do get in arguments even if you're in a long distance relationship. It's just natural. You have 2 different personalities and there's things that are going to come up, but there is a way to deal with arguments that is going to be productive and the most effective way to deal with them, and then there's ways that are not. And one of them I've found just personally for me is that arguing over text is the worst, because it's so easy to misinterpret something over text and read something in a voice that they may not even be saying it. Sometimes when you're in an argument and you're mad or you're upset, you read things a lot more harshly than what they're actually meant to be read as. So don't create the tone of the text and basically act as if they've said it to you over the phone or in person, because that's just going to create even more conflict and make the argument go on even longer. So it's best, honestly, to do a FaceTime or to do a phone call and try and hash out things that way so that there's no misunderstandings. You know exactly what everybody's trying to say. Everybody can say their piece and get it across in the appropriate manner so that you're not creating more arguments within an argument over text, and it will just help the argument get resolved faster. The next thing that I learned is that the little things sometimes mean the most. So that odd text where you just throughout the day, you're working, he's working, you're all doing your own thing, just the quick text that says, I love you, or even just a quick phone call, even if you only have 5 minutes or 2 minutes to talk and you've got to get back to work or something, that actually makes such a difference, because planning times to talk and little dates where you're going to talk over FaceTime or watch a movie together or something like that are all amazing and should be part of your long distance relationship. But the things that catch you off guard that you're not expecting can sometimes make you feel the most loved and make you feel like the other person's thinking about you even when you're not really talking or doing anything together. So if you're in a long distance relationship right now and you're not doing those little surprise moments, I would suggest doing it, because it really just keeps things alive even in moments when you can't talk. And honestly, it's really about quality, not quantity. So even if you text all day long, it's probably not going to have the same impact as a surprise text or call that you weren't expecting. So try to do those little things and you'll probably see a major difference in the security that you both feel in the relationship, and you'll end up both feeling more appreciated. The last thing that I learned from being in a long distance relationship is that the downs feel a lot more dramatic than they would if you were in person. So I kind of view it like this. So you're up here, you're happy. This is the happy level that I just made up. So you're up here, you're happy, you're going along, you feel good with each other. Then all of a sudden you make a little dip, right? But in person, that would feel like a little dip. You just had a little tiff, you had a little argument, something like that. But when you're in long distance, sometimes these things can feel more dramatic because you're unable to comfort each other in person and kind of move on from it and continue with your day. So you have that little dip and then you go on in regular relationships when you're in person. But in a long distance relationship, what I've found personally is that you're happy, you're going along, and then when you have a down, a little argument or whatever it might be, or disagreement, the dip feels like this instead of like a little one. So that's something that I just had to learn and kind of remind myself in my head that this is feeling a lot more dramatic than it actually is. If you were in person right now, you guys would be hugging, you'd get over this, you would move on, you'd be watching a movie, you'd go and do something fun and get out of that kind of space. But you can't really do that in a long distance relationship, especially if the other person is busy working or they're on a different time zone or there's just other things that are going on at the same time. Sometimes these little petty arguments or disagreements don't get resolved right away. Then it feels so dramatic, you feel so frustrated throughout the day, you feel like it's not getting resolved, and it gets dragged out throughout a longer period than it would if you're in person. So I think it's just important to remind yourself that when you're feeling in those low moments where you just feel like you're so hurt and upset and disappointed, that you're gonna get through it. It's not as dramatic and emotional as it feels to you in that moment. That has helped me a lot, so hopefully it helps you too if you're struggling with the same thing. Well, that's it. Those were 5 major lessons that I've learned from being in a long distance relationship so far. I'm sure there's going to be many more I'm going to learn along the way. I'm sure I could do a part 2 or even 3 of this because there's so much that I've learned already, and I know within the next 4 months there's going to be even more. So if you guys want a part 2, comment down below and I'll let you know in a month or 2 where I'm at, what new things I've learned and figured out being in a long distance relationship. And also, I'd love to know how long you've been in a long distance relationship. Comment that down below. Have you just started? Have you been in a long distance relationship for years? I'd love to know where you're all at, and just know that we're all kind of on this journey together and we'll get through it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful and that you found some advice that you could take away and apply to your long distance relationship. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell for more videos on relationship and life advice. See you guys next time. Bye.